Tongue finished?
Yes, sir.
Tongue. Nasal septum also finished, no? Cranial nerves पूरा complete हो गए ना?
Yes.
Apparatus? No. So lacrimal apparatus is a 4 marks question. 4 marks. Lacrimal apparatus. Today we discuss lacrimal apparatus. So apparatus means what is meant by BP operator? Operator means so tube, bulb, mercury, meter. So together called as BP operators. Are you getting? So here lacrimal operators. So lacrimal operators includes the number one. Right. Lacrimal operators includes the number one lacrimal gland. Number one is the lacrimal gland, and number two conjunctival sac. Number two conjunctival sac. Conjunctival sac, and number three lacrimal punctus. Lacrimal puncta. Two lacrimal puncta. See here, one is above and below. Two lacrimal punctas, upper one and lower one. Okay, superior lacrimal puncta and inferior lacrimal puncta. Okay, next two canaliculi. Two canaliculi, superior canaliculi and inferior canaliculi. Superior canaliculi and inferior canaliculi. Two canaliculi and lacrimal sac, and nasolacrimal duct. Nasolacrimal duct. Are you getting? Nasolacrimal duct. This is zoom में जाएगा clarity नहीं है ना कदम अक्सर श्वास क्लियर कंटिन्यूस ले yes, good, right. So lacrimal gland, conjunctival sac, two lacrimal punctus, and superior and inferior canaliculi, lacrimal sac, and nasolacrimal duct, together called as lacrimal operators. Okay, are you getting? So lacrimal operators, first we discuss the lacrimal gland. Lacrimal gland. So lacrimal gland produces the tears. Okay, lacrimal gland produces the tears. It is located in the lateral wall of the orbit. Lateral wall of the orbit, in the lacrimal fossa. In the lacrimal fossa. Ekkudundi lateral wall of the orbit lo lacrimal fossa. There is a small depressed area called as lacrimal fossa. Are you getting? So it is present in the lacrimal fossa, means present towards the lateral side, not medial. Okay, present in the lateral side. Next, this lacrimal gland subdivides into two parts by the levator palpebrae superioris muscle. Levator palpebrae superioris muscle. So this muscle separates the two parts. Okay. So one gland which divides into two parts by the levator palpebrae superioris muscle. So that muscle it runs up to upper eyelid. Are you getting? Upper eyelid for run muscle parenti levator palpebrae superioris. So this muscle separates the gland into two parts. Number one, orbital part of the lacrimal gland. Number one, orbital part of the lacrimal gland, and number two, palpebraeal part of the lacrimal gland. Number two, palpebraeal part of the lacrimal gland. Are you getting? So orbital part and palpebraeal part. Next, this orbital part and palpebraeal part. Orbital part and palpebraeal part. There is a presence of 6 to 8 small ducts. 6 to 8 small ducts called as lacrimal ducts. Called as lacrimal ducts opens into the conjunctival sac. Opens into the conjunctival sac. Are you getting? So conjunctival sac and the last call. Next subheading conjunctival sac. So conjunctival sac present where? Just anterior to the eyeball. It is present anterior to the eyeball and posterior to the see here, this one is a upper eyelid and lower eyelid, posterior to the eyelids, anterior to the eyeball, posterior to the eyelids. అంటే మనం ఈ రెప్పన్ బట్టి ఇట్లా లాగినాం అనుకోండి, ఆ మధ్యలో ఒక స్పేస్ వస్తుందా స్పేస్ ఇట్లా లాగినప్పుడు మధ్యలో ఒక గ్యాప్ వస్తుంది, గ్యాప్. సో దట్ గ్యాప్ ఇస్ ద conjunctival sac. Are you getting? So that one we call as conjunctival sac, where it is located anterior to the eyeball, posterior to the upper and lower eyelids, వాటికి back side. So that space we call as conjunctival sac. Are you getting? So whenever the tears produces through the lacrimal gland, the tears enters into the conjunctival sac. Our conjunctival sac locality tears open. So this tears runs towards the lateral to medial. So lateral it runs towards the medial side. Then in the medial side there is a two openings present. Conjunctival sac loki two openings. So the two openings we called as superior and inferior lacrimal punctures. So whenever the conjunctival sac filled with the tears, so the tears opens into the superior and inferior canaliculi through the superior and inferior lacrimal punctures. Are you getting? So through the lacrimal punctures, tears opens into the superior and inferior canaliculi. Are you getting? So through the superior and inferior canaliculi, this tears enters into the lacrimal sac. So whenever the lacrimal sac filled with the tears, then they runs downwards through the nasolacrimal duct. In the nasolacrimal duct, there is the presence of one valve. So that valve we called as valve of Hessinas. Valve of Hessinas. So whenever this valve of Hessinas is opens, this tears passes through the nasolacrimal duct. They opens into the inferior meatus of the nasal cavity. Inferior meatus of the nasal cavity. Inferior meatus present where? Inferior meatus. So between the superior canca and middle canca, the superior meatus. Between the middle canca and inferior canca, that is the middle meatus. Between the inferior nasal canca and hot palate, that one we call as inferior meatus. In the inferior meatus, which one is opens? In the inferior meatus, there is an opening of nasolacrimal duct. So nasolacrimal duct opens where? The inferior meatus. The inferior meatus of the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. See here, superior meatus, middle meatus, inferior meatus. In the inferior meatus, there is a nasolacrimal duct opens here. అందుకని చాలా మంది ఏం చేస్తారు, బాగా ఏడ్చినప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తారు, చీత్తా ఉంటారు. అవునా, చాలా ఏడ్చినప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తారు, చాలా మంది ఇది చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. అంటే త్రూ ద tears passes through the lacrimal nasolacrimal duct, they opens into the inferior meatus. ఆ టీయర్స్ అనేది ఇక్కడ ఓపెన్ అయితే నాసల్ క్యావిటీ లోపల. ఓకేనా, మనం ఈజీగా ఐడెంటిఫై చేయొచ్చు వాడు నిజంగా ఏడుస్తుందా లేకపోతే పైన ఏడుస్తుందా. ఒక సిచ్యువేషన్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఎవరైనా చనిపోయినారు అనుకో, ఒక నలుగురు ఏడుస్తూ ఉంటారు, ఒక నలుగురు ఏడుస్తూ ఉంటారు, మిగతా వాళ్ళందరూ జస్ట్ యాక్టింగ్ చేయడానికి వస్తారు. అంటే యాక్టింగ్ అంటే అట్లా కాదు, కొంతవరకు పర్లేదు. అక్కడ ఆటోలోనే ఇట్లా కళ్ళు పైన కానీ ఇలా మొత్తం ఆ గాలి మొత్తం లాక్రిమల్ అపరేటర్స్ ఏం చేస్తాయి, secretes the tears because touch pain temperature. So I open చేసుకోసేపు ఉంచినా మనకి ఏమైతే tears ప్రొడ్యూస్ అవుతాయి. ఎందుకు అంటే టచ్, ఏం టచ్ అవుతుంది, గాలి టచ్ అవుతుంది. సో ప్రొడ్యూసెస్ ద tears. ఆ tears ని పట్టుకొని ఎంటర్ అయిపోతుంది. సో ఎంటర్ కాగానే మనం అయ్యో పాపం ఏడుస్తున్నాడు కానీ వాడు ఏడు జస్ట్ స్టైల్ అట్లా కొంచెం మరి ఏడకుండా నవ్వుతే బాగుంటుంది కదా, అందుకని బయటనే ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యాల్సి వస్తుంది. కానీ అక్కడ ఒక 4 మెంబర్స్ ఉంటారు, వాళ్ళు మాత్రం బాగా ఏడుస్తూ ఉంటారు, వాళ్ళే చీత్తా ఉంటారు. మీరే గట్టిగా చూడండి, ఎక్కడన్నా సిచ్యువేషన్ లో ఒక 2-3 చీత్తా ఉంటారు. వాళ్ళు క్లోజ్ రిలేటివ్స్ అన్నారు. సో క్లోజ్ రిలేషన్ అంటే ఆయన పాపం చేసిందని గుర్తు తెచ్చుకొని కుమిలి ఏడుస్తూ ఉంటారు, వాళ్ళు మాత్రమే స్క్రీ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఓకేనా, సో ఎందుకు, బికాస్ ఆఫ్ lacrimal duct, lacrimal sac filled with the tears, then through the nasolacrimal duct they opens into the inferior meatus. Inferior meatus in the inferior meatus where it is located, in the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Are you getting? Okay na. So lacrimal apparatus lo emen rayal manam, lacrimal apparatus. First one is the lacrimal gland, second one is the conjunctival sac, next 2 lacrimal punctures. Whenever the conjunctival sac filled with the tears, through the superior and inferior lacrimal punctures, tears opens into the superior and inferior nasal, superior and inferior so canaliculus, superior canaliculus and inferior canaliculus. So what are the lacrimal punctures? So lacrimal punctures is the openings, 2 openings present medial side of the 2 lacrimal punctures. These 2 lacrimal punctures are openings medial to the conjunctival sac, medial to the conjunctival sac. Next inko point. So these lacrimal punctures are communications between the conjunctival sac and superior and inferior canaliculus. Superior and inferior canaliculus. Are you getting? Next, come to the superior canaliculus. So superior canaliculus, student, etlandi? Superior canaliculus has 2 parts. Number 1, elevated part, and number 2, idema elevated, idi depressed part. Are you getting? Elevated part and depressed part. Elevated part and depressed part. In between the elevation and depression, there is a presence of ampulla. Ampulla, which means bend. Ampulla means bend. Superior canaliculus. Okay, are you getting? Next, come to the inferior canaliculus. Inferior canaliculus, allow the children. Inferior canaliculus. Inferior canaliculus, it has descending part. Is it descending part and horizontal part. ఇది horizontal right. Descending and horizontal. Draw చేసేటప్పుడు కూడా అంతే. Descending and descending పైదానికి ఇక్కడ descending and horizontal. Descending అంటే horizontal. ఇప్పుడు కొద్దిగా క్రాస్ చేసిందో మీరు horizontal గా తీసుకోవాలి. ఓకే. It is a descending part and horizontal part. Next, superior and inferior canaliculus opens into the superior and inferior canaliculus opens into the lacrimal sac. Opens into the lacrimal sac. Sac local open. Are you getting? Okay. Now we discuss the lacrimal sac. Lacrimal sac present in the lacrimal canal. Lacrimal canal. It is present in the lacrimal canal. Ekkada untundi? Medial side of the orbit. Medial side of the orbit there is a presence of lacrimal canal. Once again I show you. See here, this part we called as lacrimal canal. So this sac ikkada undi in the lacrimal canal. Lacrimal canal etta kanipistundi once again. This one is the lacrimal canal. So that one present here. Sac present here. Through the nasolacrimal duct passes downwards. Are you getting? So opens into the inferior meatus. Are you getting? Next. Nasolacrimal duct. Nasolacrimal duct. So nasolacrimal duct passes through the lacrimal canal. Passes through the lacrimal canal. They opens into the inferior meatus of the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Inferior meatus of the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Are you getting? Next, nasolacrimal duct. Nasolacrimal duct. There is a presence of wall. The nasolacrimal duct. There is a presence of wall called as valve of Hessinar. Valve of Hessinar. Valve of Hessinar. Okay. Next. Nerve supply of lacrimal gland. Nerve supply of the lacrimal gland. So lacrimal gland is supplied by the lacrimal gland is supplied by the lacrimal nerve. Right on. Lacrimal nerve. Lacrimal gland is supplied by the lacrimal nerve. So lacrimal nerve is a branch of. చెప్పండి ఎక్కడ నుంచి వచ్చింది బ్రాంచ్ lacrimal nerve? ఫేషియల్ లో కాకుండా ఇంకా సెన్సరీలో. ఎవరు ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. Ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. So that is the lacrimal nerve. Okay, and touch, pain, temperature. Are you getting? Next, special sense by the see here zygomaticotemporal ekkada nunchi post ganglionic fibers of pterygopalatine ganglion. Post ganglionic fibers of pterygopalatine ganglion through the pterygopalatine ganglion through the zygomaticotemporal nerve supplies the lacrimal gland. ఇట్లా వచ్చేసి ఇక్కడ కూడా supplies the lacrimal gland. Are you getting? Next, parasympathetic by the parasympathetic ఏం రాయాలి వేగస్ రాదు ఇంకా parasympathetic by the ఏ nerves involved అయితే parasympathetic లో? What are the nerves involved into the parasympathetic? Third, 7th, 9th, 10th. Very good. So means 7th one involves here. 7th one parasympathetic by the 7th cranial nerve. Third and right. Third also involved. Third also involved. Third. Okay, are you getting? Next, lacrimal apparatus 4 marks question completed, right? Next, okay, ఉన్న టాపిక్స్ మనకి టీఎం జాయింట్ ఉందా? అయిపోయిందా? టీఎం జాయింట్ ఉందా? గ్లాండ్స్ చెప్పానా? నో. టీఎం జాయింట్, right on the TM joint. Temporomandibular joint 10 marks question. TM joint, temporomandibular joint, it is a 10 marks question. So temporomandibular joint, bones forming the joint. First subheading, bones forming the joint. Bones forming the joint. Even bones, temporal bone and mandible. Temporal bone and mandible. Temporal bone lo ye part? Temporal fossa. Temporal fossa and condyle of the mandible. Temporal fossa దాన్ని కాండైలర్ ఫోసా అని కూడా అంటారు. టెంపరల్ ఫోసాని కాండైలర్ ఫోసా అని కూడా అంటారు. టెంపరల్ ఫోసా అండ్ condyle of the mandible unite to form a joint called as temporomandibular joint. Temporomandibular joint. It is a bicondylar type joint. Condylar type and right. It is a condylar type joint. Okay. Condylar type joint. So ఇక్కడ bones గురించి రాయాలంటే condyle of the mandible. condyle of the mandible. Condyle of the mandible present in the upper part of the ramus of the mandible. Upper part of the ramus of the mandible. Ramus of the mandible. Okay. It is articulates with the fossa. It is articulates with the condylar fossa. Condylar fossa forms a joint called as mandibular fossa కూడా అంటారు. Which one? Condylar fossa or mandibular fossa भी बोलते हैं. Articulates with the condylar fossa, forms a joint called as temporomandibular joint. Temporomandibular joint. Okay. Then come to the ligaments of the joint. Ligaments. Okay. Ligaments. Number 1, capsular ligament. Capsular ligament. And number 2, lateral ligament. Lateral ligament. And number 3, articular disc. Number 3, articular disc. So first, capsular ligament. Capsular ligament, above it is attaches to the peripheral margin of the mandibular fossa. Peripheral margin of the mandibular fossa. Above attachment. Okay. Next, below it is attaches to the neck of the condyle. Neck of the condyle of the mandible. Condyle of the mandible. Neck of the condyle of the mandible. Okay. Next, produces the joint cavity. Joint cavity is lined by the synovial membrane. Lined by the synovial membrane. Okay. Next, in the joint cavity, next one. In the joint cavity, there is a presence of thick, transparent, viscous fluid. Thick, transverse, viscous fluid. Viscous fluid present, called as synovial fluid. Called as synovial fluid. Are you getting? Okay. Next, articular disc. Right. Next, articular disc. नहीं, पहले articular disc लिखना है. Okay. Articular disc बोलते हैं. Articular disc is a cartilaginous disc. Articular disc is a cartilaginous disc. It divides into two compartments. It divides into two compartments. Number one, menisco-temporal compartment. Menisco-temporal compartment. Number two, menisco-mandibular compartment. Menisco-mandibular compartment. Okay, menisco-temporal compartment and menisco-mandibular compartment. Are you getting? Next, articular disc consists of three zones. Number one, anterior extension. The anterior extension. Next, intermediate zone. Number two, intermediate zone. And number three, bilaminar region. Number three, bilaminar region. Bilaminar region. These three parts separated by the two thick bands. These three parts separated by the two thick bands. Number one, anterior thick band. And number two, posterior thick band. Number one, anterior thick band, and number two, posterior thick band. Are you getting? Okay. Next, articular disc. Next, lateral ligament. Next, lateral ligament. Lateral ligament, above it is attaches to the outer free margin of the mandibular fossa. Outer free margin of the mandibular fossa. Next, below it is attaches to the neck of the mandible. Neck of the condyle. Are you getting? So below attachment, this one. Next, relations. Same joint relations. First, anteriorly. Anteriorly, lateral pterygoid muscle. And a zygomatic arch. Lateral pterygoid muscle and zygomatic arch. Anterior relations. Zygomatic arch. Next, posterior relation. External acoustic meatus. Posteriorly, it is related with the external acoustic meatus. After opening in the external acoustic meatus. And external ear. The outside ear, external acoustic meatus. Next, styloid process. And mastoid process. Are you getting? Next, lateral surface relation. So lateral surface related with the skin. superficial fascia, investing layer of deep cervical fascia, and parotid gland. Next, medial surface relation. Medial side. Medial relation. Deep part of parotid gland. Next, middle meningeal artery. Is a branch of maxillary artery. చెప్తున్నా కదా maxillary artery ఎన్ని బ్రాంచెస్ ఉంటాయి చెప్పినా లేదా ఎన్ని ఉంటాయి 15 branches. So first part లో 5 branches, second part 4 branches, third part 6 branches, totally 15 branches. దేంట్లో maxillary artery లో దాంట్లో ఒక ఆర్టరీ ఇది మిడిల్ మెనింజియల్ ఆర్టరీ అనేది ఒక ఆర్టరీ. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ auriculotemporal nerve. Next, inferior alveolar vessels and nerves. Next, Spinomandibular ligament. అంతే, చాలా సరిపోతాయి. ఇది ఒకటి రాయాలి. lateral pterygoid muscle. medial కూడా medial pterygoid muscle. medial pterygoid muscle. Okay, so these are the relations. Medial pterygoid రాకపోయినా పెద్ద ప్రాబ్లం లేదు, lateral pterygoid రాకపోతే ప్రాబ్లం. Okay, these are the relations. Next, movements of the joint. ఏంటిది ఏ మూమెంట్స్ ఉంటాయి? retraction and protraction. Okay, next, gliding movement. Okay, flexion and extension. So these are the movements. Next, nerve supply. Auriculotemporal nerve. Next, blood supply. Superficial temporal artery. Are you getting? So these are the movements. So 10 marks questions. Okay na? These are 10 marks question. Diagrams are there. Okay, next topic is parotid